Saya Heather Variava, Wakil Duta Besar Amerika Serikat di Indonesia. Menyambut datangnya bulan Ramadan, saya mendoakan keberkahan selama sebulan penuh bagi semua yang menjalani. Di saat-saat penuh ketidakpastian dan kecemasan yang sedang berlangsung saat ini, saya terinspirasi oleh berbagai kisah mengenai harapan, kemanusiaan, dan kedermawanan yang tak terhitung yang kita miliki bersama. Semoga bulan ini memperkuat persahabatan kita. Selamat menunaikan ibadah puasa.
Hello everyone and welcome to EdAmerica TV. My name is James, one of the e-guides here at EdAmerica, and we welcome audience members joining us online. We hope that you're doing well and staying safe. EdAmerica is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. In this episode, we'll be having how to write a statement of purpose or personal essay for U.S. universities. But before we begin, let's break the ice with a little game. I have here a question for everyone. What is the highest level of academic degree that you can earn? Is it A, doctorate, B, bachelor's, C, master's, or D, associates? I'd also like to let everyone know that as continuation of EdAmerica's 10th-year anniversary celebration and a season full of holiday, we are holding an activity along with several giveaways. Those giveaways are food worth 1 million Indonesian rupiah for 10 lucky people to share with family and friends. If you want to join, stay until the end of this program to find out more. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag EdAmerica's Instagram account. And now, without further ado, let me introduce our moderator for today, Kak Vina Alatas, EdAmerica's very own Education USA advisor. Kak Vina, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you so much, James. Hi, everyone. Welcome to EdAmerica TV. My name is Vina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in EdAmerica. We are located in Pacific Place Mall in Jakarta. And I'm actually very excited for the event tonight. If this is not your first time joining Education USA events or have been with Education USA before, you already know how I am really into this topic that is essay. All right, but I want to tell you guys something. I want to try something different. again, if you've been joining the session before, you know how I usually pull up my presentation slides while I'm talking, right? But tonight, I would like to try giving this talk without any presentation slides. Okay. And of course, I would like to hear from you guys some of the feedbacks, because that way we can always improve. But think of the session tonight like a podcast. So if you are on the road, or you are, in the middle of finishing your dinner, maybe you don't have to basically look at the screen. You can basically just listen to what I'm about to say. But then, of course, feel free to look at the screen. But basically, you're just going to see my face. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes. And I look forward to your feedback. So let's do this. If you are here in Zoom, you definitely can also use the Zoom chat feature. Feel free to ask questions, feel free to say hi to everyone. And this is what I love about having the session via Zoom, because it's actually very interactive. Although you can actually ask questions during my talking, I would also like to remind you that if you can, try your best to also pay attention to what I'm about to say, because some of the, if not all, but maybe some of the talking points that I'm going to share with you guys, you will want to jot down some of my tips. So yeah. But if this is your first time, I would like to say hi to everyone. And just in case you are wondering who we are, basically we are Education USA. We are a network under the US State Department. So we are fully supported by the US State Department, or here in Indonesia, we call it Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. And all of our services are free of charge. My goal is to basically have as many Indonesians as possible to think Education USA as the go-to place when you want to, study in the US, because like I said earlier, all of our services are free of charge. So basically we're just standing by, waiting for new advisors to come in, and, we are ready to assist you on so many things, right? So for example, like the event tonight, we are talking about statement of purpose. I want to say that this is the most demanding service that we have here, specifically in Education USA at America, where there are two advisors. So again, my name is Fina, and then I have my colleague Santika, who will basically going to be very active talking to you guys in Zoom chat. But later on during the Q&A, I will call up Santika, and then we can discuss together and look at your Q&A. Okay. If you are also watching the session from many different platforms, because EdAmerica is great like that. We are not here in Zoom, but we are also live currently on Facebook, Twitter, we are live on YouTube, Instagram, and livestream.com. I would like to say hi. Feel free to stay wherever you guys are watching this from. And even if you have any questions, feel free to share that in the comment wherever you are watching this, because we have our lovely EdAmerica team who will collect those questions. And then later on, after I'm done talking, we are going to take a look at some of those questions, and then we'll answer it. Okay, so let's just dive into it. I would like to start with, what is a statement of purpose, right? So you're, attending the session, you want to know more about statement of purpose, right? What is a statement of purpose? Let's start with that. Is it like an essay? Is it an essay like how we normally think what an essay is? That's statement of purpose, right? Some people might think that way. So, and what's other essay looks like? What is the normal essay that we think it is an essay? Mm-hmm. Let me know if you agree with this. It's basically, normally, most of the time, if not all the time, when we think of an essay, when we want to study, abroad or wherever, it's, basically it has, basically it's an autobiography, right? It is a little bit heavy on being a narrative. Basically, you're talking about yourself, you're talking about, where did you graduate from, if you're very proud of, of the university. We tend to show ourselves off, showing off basically, by telling the reader, look, hey, I finished college here, I did intern here, I won this award. I want that word. I want this competition. I started this startup and what have you. That's what we think when it comes to essay, right? However, I hate to break it up to you guys. So I just want to basically tell you guys, like right now, that that's not what it is when it comes to statement of purpose. And then we're going to dig in even more, right? So, and then the reason why we have this essay events every single month is because I hate to actually give a big X when someone comes in and then they share their first draft and then they have never, they don't know anything about this event. And so they just write, what they know when it comes to essay. And then I told them, sorry, we got to do like a major revision here, right? And then at the same time, I also going to be the most honest person when it comes to essay. Why? Because of course, I want you to be successful in this particular document, right? So I will be very honest. If I think that it is not ready yet, then I will say so. Okay. But then maybe you want to say, but Fina, wait, I know, a number of my friends or, my colleagues, they write an essay like what I just said, like autobiography, hi, my name is, I graduated here, blah, blah, blah. And then they actually still get accepted. What's up with that? And yeah, I mean, actually, believe it or not, there is no particular, what do you call it? Like a rule when it comes to essay. In fact, I actually have an advisee recently who shared with me that he got accepted to one of the universities in the US, and then he wanted to kind of like apply to other universities, and then he thought that, hey, I might, I want to use your service. And so I said, I asked him, do you mind sharing the essay that you already have when you submitted that one university where you got accepted? And then he did. And then actually that essay is completely what I just said to you guys, like autobiography, like centric on being a narrative, like writing a letter and something like that. And so I told him that we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna end up with this essay because I am actually very particular when it comes to essay. So what I'm trying to say is there's no pressure when it comes to like doing an essay with me or with Santika. Mm-hmm. But I want to give you a heads up that if you happen to decide that you want me or Santika to be your, I don't know, like guide on essay writing, we are very particular when it comes to essay. Okay. So I call it some kind of like my recipe that I found throughout the years when I'm with EducationUSA, and this recipe, which is something that I want to share with you. Okay. And then another heads up that I want to tell you is that when you decide that you want to, come see me or Santika, it's not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be easy when it comes to writing an essay. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very challenging, maybe to the point where you're just kind of like very frustrated. But I'm telling you, it's going to be so worth it. Okay. So back to the statement of purpose, right? So, now that maybe some of you are still thinking about like when it comes to essays, more like, writing an autobiography and everything, it seems very easy to the point where people then left the most important thing from what the universities in the US is actually asking for in the statement of purpose, which is, okay, this is going to be very important. So I want you guys to pay attention. What do you want to take this program for? What do you want to do after you're done with this program? What kind of contribution, if any, that you want to do after this program? That's it. You know what, guys? Actually, even we can actually end the session because that's basically the whole thing about statement of purpose. But of course, I want to like talk more so that we can kind of like really understand in terms of like the structure and everything. But that's actually what the statement of purpose. They want to know, what do you want to take this program for, right? In Indonesia, we call it kepo, right? Okay. So basically the admissions committee, they really kepo. They really want to know what is it that you really, really want to do with this program, why the specific universities, and what is it that you want to do. They want that information in the essay. Now, the problem is we focused too long on what we have done in the past. right? Why I said in the past? Of course, it's in the past. When I said earlier, the essay that we mostly, normally know, we talk about, like, I graduated here, I did this, I did an intern here, I won this competition. That's something that's already in the past. Right? And that is why we have this event every single month. So I want to save your time.
Yep.
So that you don't write that kind of essay when you senior Santika. So the whole point is so that when you come senior Santika, you already have that draft and you already tried your best, compiling the essay with this specific structure. It doesn't have to be really, like perfect, but hopefully that, what I'm going to share with you, you kind of like get what I'm saying, and then you put it into the essay, right? Okay, before we actually really go into details, I want to ask you a question, right? Everyone is here in the Zoom, in Zoom. Feel free to, answer my question in the chat, and I'm going to give some time. Unfortunately, if you guys are watching the session from a different platform, I won't be able to see it. But when I said that the essay, the normal essay that we know, right? The autobiography, all those information, like the GPA, the university, did intern here, I worked here from this year to that year. Where do you think in the other documents that normally the universities are asking for, can I have all that information? So I'm going to give some time. We already get some people here. CV. There's no right or wrong answer, guys. So if you don't think that is in CV, maybe you can say anything else. Resume. So thank you for saying that. Exactly. You got it right. Exactly. All of this information are already in CV and resume. The thing is, the way I look at it is kind of like a duplicate, right? We already have a CV, we already have a resume. And then we basically, of course, it looks nice because we put, like our headshot, which, by the way, if you want to study in the US, you don't want to use a headshot there in your CV. And then we have a separate event on that. But, like how the CV looks, really neat, like with bulleted statements and everything. And then you have another document called essay where you basically just use that information in CV into like a story, right? So do you think it is what it is when writing an essay, taking the same information from resume and CV? I want to say a lot of us think so, right? But here's the thing. If that is the case, right, then what's the point of EducationUSA EdAmerica advisors, aka me and Santika, checking on your essay for? Think about it. If that is the content of the essay, what are we doing here, right? If what you have is already, factual information from the CV, what part of the essay do you need checking on from me, right? And so now you already know that it is not the case when it comes to statement of purpose. The way I look at it, so the reason why other countries out there are okay with this kind of essay, the way I look at it, this is my only assumption, is that essay is actually not considered as something really important when you actually submit the document, because the way I look at it, the other countries are really academic centric, meaning that they really want to know how great you are with your academic performance, right? However, in the US, I want you to stop thinking about whatever grade that you have, whatever GPA that you end up with when you are still in college. Okay, the reason is because in the US, all of the, not all universities, but most the universities in the US, they use what we called a holistic approach when they review the application, meaning that they are going to take a look at all of the documents. Yes, they are going to still take a look at your GPA, but it's not going to be like the end of the world, meaning that if you end up with 3.1 GPA, they're just going to disqualify you. They're not going to do that. They're going to take a look, oh, okay, you got 3.1 GPA. Let me take a look at the other document. And then when you actually come up with like a really strong essay, then that's another, it's another story, right? So that's what I want us to focus on, regardless you have like a good GPA or not, because you want to be very careful when it comes to essay. Don't think that but Fina, I graduated with, I don't know, cum laude with like 3.8, 3.9. Does that mean that I don't really have to write a strong essay? No, we have to be very careful on that, because I have a lot of my advisees that graduated with, like a really strong GPA. They still don't get it. Right. So the way I look at it in the US, they really, really pay attention so much on statement of purpose. It weighs heavily because, like I said earlier, they are kepo, right? They really want to get to know you almost on a personal level. And this is what I love about the US, because they're just not, they're just not accepting you just so that you put money, paying tuition, whatever. But then they really want to get to know you, and they want to get to know your purpose. And I've been in this field for quite a while now. We're talking about like 5-6 years in Education USA. And that's what I see the universities are actually really looking for when it comes to essay. And I don't see that from other countries. Okay. That being said, it's called a statement of purpose for a reason. And also, that being said, the fact that it's called statement of purpose for a reason, you do not want to underestimate this one particular document. I would say this is the one preparation you don't want to procrastinate on. I love being procrastinate on things. It gives me like adrenaline to do it like near the deadline. But I'm telling you guys, this essay, you do not want to procrastinate on, and trust me, you do not want to do that. So you definitely want to start early, and then I'll give you, like a little bit of reasons why. When you start early, you can have a break from writing essays with me or with Santika, because there will be some point where you just get sick of seeing us, because probably particularly me. Santika is just like so nice. I wish I could do it like what Santika did, but I don't want to scare you off or anything. But I don't do easy when it comes to essay. So that's why, I have like a number of advisees who just kind of like, I don't want to see Hina. So they're just kind of like MIA for a couple of months. And that's also nice because then, you can basically just take a break from the essay, right? And another thing is because very particularly on EducationUSA at America is that, when you see us, it's not just like business-like. It's not like you come here and we see your essay and then, okay, bye, right? So, we actually brainstorm together sometimes. I would like to also know what you want to do so that it's actually easier for you guys to like write it in the essay, because then, we're going to brainstorm. Another reason why I use the word brainstorm is because this is statement of purpose is something that we're not get used to on thinking and put it into words. So it's easier when you actually have discussion with me. And then before you actually really realize it, we are actually brainstorming. That being said, this is also another important, giving you a tips and a heads up. When we have a session, I really highly recommend you to actually have your phone ready and then, pull up the voice memo app or what apps do you have when, for recording, and then record the session. Right. So then, because I'm going to ask questions very like natural, like, as if I just, happen to want to know it, to know more. What is it that you want to do without you actually really realizing it, that we're actually, those information that you share with me is actually can be really good to be put in the essay. Okay. I pay attention to every sentence of your essay. This is another reason why I said I don't do easy. I don't skip one sentence. Every sentence on your essay, I'm going to pay attention to it. Okay. So my focus will be what is in front of me. So that's why the reasons why I also say to you, start early. It's because when, trust me, when it's actually really near to the deadline, people, always come see me and Santika, and, unfortunately, there are only 2 advisors. But the way I do advising is, it's a first come, first serve, by the way. And then the way we do advising is that, when you got to see me, I will focus on you. And so I don't limit the time. So if it's going to be an hour, it's going to be an hour and a half. Let's be it, even though there are 3-4 people lined up. And I want to avoid that. And usually that happens when it's so near to the deadline. Like now, if you want to see me like around this month, because it's, like very, quiet, usually we don't have anyone coming in a day. So you can actually use this opportunity to see me or Santika, right? But then again, no pressure, right? You're always standing by, but then, I got to an advisory coming in when there's no one, and then we actually end up talking for like 2.5 hours. Not just like essay, we're just kind of like talking, chit chat and everything. So that's nice, Let's see, what do I have? I have some talking point here. Oh yeah, so statement of purpose is, if you think about it, why EducationUSA America is kind of like, right now is kind of like the hub for essay review, is because statement of purpose is the one that EducationUSA America can actually really help with, because the rest, like GRE, like TOEFL, like resume, we can review your resume, but then of course the content is not, is your life, right? But those are something that we don't have any control over, or like guide you on that. But statement of purpose is the one that we can help with, right? So sometimes we actually have, advises, doing a session with us more than 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, right? Yeah. And what I'm about to share with you is years in the making, and this is not like the final. I'm always like still learning. So, but I call this kind of like my recipe that I found throughout the year. Right. So now another question is, now that I kind of like maybe scared some of you, you probably wondered, wait, why it sounds like really hard? Is it actually really hard to write a statement of purpose? So understanding the structure in the beginning, because what we're going to write is so different than the the usual essay. So understanding the structure in the beginning, yes, it is going to be, it is hard, and some people found it really confusing, but actually you already have it in your head, right? And this is what I love about people who want to study in the US, because you guys already know what you want to do. And why I said that, because I actually met a lot of people who want to continue their studies elsewhere, outside the US. And when I asked them, what they want to do and everything, there's some people who said, I don't know yet. I just want to do S2. I just want to do masters. It sounds like really cool to study abroad or whatever. But I rarely hear that in the US, because in the US, people already know that to apply there is challenging. And so I found a specific quality in you guys. So I'm actually really excited for having you guys attending the session. You guys need, you guys can actually be proud of yourself as well. So basically you already have it in your head, what it is what statement of purpose is all about. The thing is, because what we know about essay is autobiography, like I said earlier, it is kind of like really challenging for you to, oh wait, now I need to put that into words. How am I going to do that, right? So that's what we are here for. That's what EducationUSA America advisors are here for, to guide you on that. Okay, so basically, once you understand the structure, which basically what I'm going to talk about tonight, you're going to prepare the outline, and then it's going to be fairly easy. And another thing that I want to give you a heads up on, you also need to have good writing skills in English. I don't have good writing skills in English, but I know what I read. I know when essay is actually really good. So I can't actually really help you on how to write on a certain way. So you got to find a way to do that. And I'm going to give you some tips on that. Okay. So what's usually happen on the first session, now that you think about, okay, I think I'm sold. I would like to try seeing Tina and Santika after this, not tonight, but like other days. Yeah. Basically what's going to happen is that, I'm going to, if you have your draft, I'm going to basically just kind of like skim through the whole essay within 30 seconds, basically just making sure if you get the right structure. And then I am trying to very particular looking for a topic and the theme of that essay. I'm going to talk more a little bit about that later. And if I get it, then that's good. Like, when I read it, and I'll ask you back, oh, so you want to talk about this? You want to do this? You want to do that? And then if you say yes to that, so meaning I understand what you have in your essay, then we can go on. Sometimes people have that, but the structure is off, then that's fine. We can actually work on the structure, right? However, oftentimes it's not the case. What happens usually is that you come up, you draft, and
Ini Vina nge-freeze ya?
I can't revision. So I come up with this term when it's called, whenever I give feedback on your essay, I have two things. Is it minor revision or major revision? Minor revision means that you almost get it right, but I want you to kind of like change a little bit here and there. But major revision, meaning that the next time you come back and see me, I expect you to actually come up with a completely new essay, right? And that's what I actually don't want to happen. I don't want that to happen because I always feel bad when I do that. But again, like I have to be honest, right? I want to also, give you a heads up, just kind of like a disclaimer that there is no guarantee when you come see me in Santika, although we are going to help you so much. There's no guarantee that you're going to get accepted. Unfortunately, of course, we got a number of advices that, don't get accepted. However, I'm very confident that the success rate is actually really high when people get accepted. I don't want to think that it is only because of the essay, of course not, but because what I said earlier, that the fact that the essays actually weigh very heavily in your application, I like to think that essays or the statement of purpose has something to do with you getting accepted. And I want to say that the success rate for people who have used our service is actually really high. Another thing is, just to share with you guys, we don't do scholarship essays. So we don't do LPDP, we don't do Fulbright. And then, like I said earlier, just kind of like want to throw it out there. I don't make it easy when it comes to essay writing, but then it's for your own good because I want you to end up with like a really good essay. I want you to be very bold when you write. We don't check on grammatical errors. Unless if it's like very obvious, and then we can just kind of like make a quick note on that. But normally we don't do grammatical errors, okay? And then like I said earlier, a reminder, I would highly recommend you to record the session, have your phone ready, and then record the whole session when we talk, okay? Oh, and another thing, we don't share any essay samples. So some of you sometimes ask us to share that. Hey, do you guys have any samples that I can take a look at? And I said no, because basically just attend the session, try to write your draft, and then you're basically good to go. One thing to think about if you are, like ready to write an essay, it's highly recommended for you to actually plan to apply for multiple campuses in the US, because one essay to only one campus in the US is too bad. Why? Because since now that I don't do easy, it's going to be very challenging for you. It's going to be very time consuming for some of you. It's bad if you, not bad, what is the word? Like it's unfortunate if you only use that amazing essay to only one campus, because, this is like good news that I'm about to share, because this one essay that we are going to work together one-on-one can actually be used on multiple universities. But specifically on the US, you may not want to actually use this essay to other countries because they will laugh at you with this kind of essays, because this is definitely not what they are looking for. What they're looking for is just like a simple autobiography, right? The reasons why I say this is because we actually have a number of advices in the past where, oh yeah, I want to, work with you on the essay. And then I ask, so what university are you going to use this essay for? And then they mention some universities in the US. And then they kind of like slip in some universities outside the US. And I'm like, you want to be very careful in that, okay? So that's that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit, like we're getting technical here. Very straightforward, but a lot of, information that I would like to share with you here. Basically, let's start with, we want to, this is like, sounds like really small, like not like really big deal, but it is a big deal. We want to have a very structurized paragraph. So oftentimes when I read essays for the first time, we tend to write, like, we don't really care about paragraphs. So, you can open the paragraph with like 3 lines, and then the following paragraphs of 2 lines, and then the following paragraphs of like 7 lines. We don't want to do that. Why? Because it's kind of like overwhelmed for the readers, because it just seems like you have a lot of information. And we want to be very particular in the paragraph, because each paragraph has its own story. Now we are talking about statement of purpose. Okay, we're no longer talking about the autobiography type of essay. Okay, this is a statement of purpose. We want to have a very structured paragraph. That being said, we will actually end up with just, I want to say one introduction paragraph, probably 3 body paragraph, or 4, and then conclusion. So we probably just end up with 6 paragraphs, right? Very clear. The opening paragraph is, we call it the introduction paragraph. And then we have a number of bodies paragraph. It can be 3 or 4. And then we close it with a conclusion. And I'm going to tell you what is in each paragraph, okay? Another tips before I forgot, please allow yourself to write as many words as possible, okay? So regardless how many words the universities are giving you the limit on. So maybe there are universities that only allow you to write 500, 750, or even 1,000. Just write as many words as possible, because I feel like by you giving me too much or too many information is so much better than when I'm lacking some of the information from you, okay? And then we're going to figure out together what part that we want to kind of like get rid of, take out, so that it meets the limit, okay? And another thing that you want to remember, and maybe this is something that you want to kind of like jot down, like I said earlier, is that please remember this is not an academic paper. And this is something that I always see over and over and over again, when you basically just like sound very like as if you're writing an academic paper. And I don't want that. This is a statement of purpose. It's supposed to be like a story, and you need to think like that the US is just like very different in this case, where the admissions committee are actually fine when you can sound very non-formal or anything like that, right? So I want a story, and I want to have like a very particular ones in each paragraph, okay? I don't do any general statement. Like I said earlier, I'm going to pay attention on every sentences. So no general, no obvious statement. This is something that I see a lot from my advisees, where they say something or they explain something about like if it's like very science, they talk about like making a statement, and then I ask them, do you think this information is obvious for people who are expert in this? And then they say yes. And so I said, so why do we put it here? Right? For me, it's going to be new information because I'm not a science person, right? But then you have to remember who's going to read this essay. So we don't want to give an obvious or general statement. What we want is to give them an information that they have not heard before. What is it? I'm going to tell you in a minute. So basically, we don't want to. What is it in Indonesia? I don't know what is it in English, but we don't want to sound bertele-tele or basa-basi. Or just say it. You don't have to say something like, the reason why I want to study this program is, that alone already take out like how many words, right? You don't have to say it. Just say it already. Yeah. In this university or whatever, there are blah 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 blah. Or if I can do this, or when we when we implement this in Indonesia, it's going to be this and that. Just say it. Right? And the way I look at it, just do it the American way, right? So because you're going to study in the US, do it the American way. Just say it already, okay? And then another common mistake that I see a lot from my advisees is, other than, like the fact that some of the essays being narrative and autobiography, is that there are a lot of I, and me. So if you already have like your draft with you, you happen to have your draft with you, see how many I, the word I, or the word me in your essay, and then circle that. And I tend to spot that very easily. And then we want to avoid that. We want to we want to minimize that, because we want to minimize using personal opinion. Okay. And then maybe you're asking, wait, Fina, so when am I going to talk about myself? you're not going to talk about yourself at all. Surprise, surprise. We're not going to talk at all about you. This is the kind of recipe that I found throughout the years when you are able to talk very bold about a situation that you want to fix, for the reader, at the end, they will think, whoa, so this person wants to do all this without actually knowing your opinion, right? And that's what we want. That's kind of like my recipe, my secret recipe that is no longer recipe now because I'm sharing it with you. So that's what we want. So you don't have to worry about, but where is my part in this, right? Don't worry about it. You have your resume. That's what your resume for, okay? So basically, we don't put ourselves as the spotlight in the essay, but rather Indonesia. If we are talking about like Indonesia, I think we have someone here who is not from Indonesia. So yeah, wherever you guys are watching this from, and you want to do something for your country, maybe, then that's what you want to give a spotlight on. Or you want to give the situation, whatever it is, your goal, as your spotlight. Okay. And then when it comes to like writing this essay, right? And then because, you heard me talking about, I don't want you to write an academic paper. I want you to write, like a story, like an interesting story. The closest way to see what I expect, at least in the introduction paragraph, because at least in the introduction paragraph or the opening paragraph, is the one paragraph that I want you to actually really very, sounds very, what's the right word? Like just non-formal in a way. It's similar to the writing style in the number of newspaper in the opinion section, like some of the like the New York Times or some other online newspaper. There are not the headlines. The headline, the way I look at it, is the academic paper. We don't want that, right? Because it sounds like very stiff, like this is what is going on today in the world or whatever. We don't want that. But like there are some like journalists where they give like their own perspective on something. Read that and then kind of like see how they write, because this is also like a good practice, right? Because they already write it in English, so you can kind of like see how they write it, and it's so nice, it's so like refreshing in a way, and that's what I actually want in at least the introduction paragraph. Okay. So we are talking so basically we've been talking about like statement of purpose, and then maybe you kind of like already check out some of the universities, and then they also ask hi Kai, maybe it looks better to see an example for statement of purpose. I'm going to actually show you an opening, like a sample of statement of like the opening from my past advisees in a second. So maybe some of you already see the university's website, and then they use the word not statement of purpose, but they call it personal essay or personal statement. What are the difference in that? So you want to be very, pay attention to the individual schools, because there are schools where there are universities where they just kind of like ask for a statement of purpose. There are other universities that they don't ask a statement of purpose, but then they only ask personal statement or personal essay. Or there are universities where they ask both, statement of purpose and personal essay. So what are the difference? So when they only call it statement of purpose, then that's statement of purpose, what we've been covering tonight. But if they only ask only one essay, but then they call it personal essay or personal statement, they don't call it statement of purpose, oftentimes, if not all the time, it is actually similar to statement of purpose. They just happen to call it personal statement, right? But if there are universities where they ask both, they got statement of purpose and then they got personal essay, then the personal essay is a whole other game. And a lot of my advisees found it like really challenging as well when it comes to personal essay. But what I want to tell you right now is that you will definitely want to focus for now on statement of purpose. There are some of my advisees where, hey, look, I want to focus first on my personal essay, and then I'm going to focus on statement of purpose. We don't want that. We actually want to we don't want to do the opposite. Your statement of purpose is going to be very like important. Personal essay is kind of, another set of essay where I also have a very particular way on writing it, but I'm not going to talk about it tonight. I'm not going to talk about it during the event at all, in fact, because I prefer just to kind of like do that on a, like one-on-one, because then again, it's not really that common for if you want to study master's degree or PhD where they ask for a personal essay. But then again, we want to focus on statement of purpose. Okay, so statement of purpose, the ending goal, why I keep saying that I don't do easy, this is going to be like challenging, this is going to be very time consuming and what have you, is that we want to end up with a statement of purpose that no other people can write. And like I said earlier, no pressure. You can decide if you want to use our service or not, if you want to use my recipe or not. But when you decide that you want to see me or Santika, we want you to end up with an essay that no other people can write. Why? And basically a one-of-a-kind essay. That's the way I look at it, right? Why? Because the fact that there are so many other applicants out there writing their own style of essays, we are going to end up with with essay that is so strong that there is no chance for the admissions committee to consider your application. We want to end up with an essay where after they're done reading it, they are saying to themselves, this is the kind of applicant that we want, that we need. That's the kind of essays that we actually want to end up with, right? And that being said, you want to also pay attention to who's actually reading the essay, who's actually going to make the decision, right? So they're going to be the admissions committee, and that admissions committee is basically part of that department, okay? So if you're applying for chemical engineering, or if you're applying for business, if you're applying for law, the admissions committee from that particular program are the ones who are going to read your essay, meaning they are also the expert of, the whole, like law, business, or engineering, right? Sometimes they like to call up a number or maybe at least one faculty members or the professor to be part of the admission cycle. So the professor can actually end up reading your essay as well. Okay, and this is what I want to tell you guys. This is something that I actually learned from a number of admissions committee. The fact is, so this is going to be surprising for some people, but the admissions committee, they are actually, not all of them actually read the whole essay. Like, are you guys like surprised hearing this? Because the first time I heard this, I was like, whoa, what do you mean you're not reading the whole thing? And for them, it's because, think about it, like they got like hundreds, even maybe thousands of application, and then they have to meet the deadline and everything. And they have to read probably like in a day, 50 or even like 100 essays. If we actually have such an essay that other people are also writing, it's boring. And we don't do boring here. We want to have an essay that no other people can write. So we want to wow them. And so now the ending goal here also, so there are so many ending goals of this whole purpose. The ending goal here is how you can actually, how can we actually make the admissions committee read the whole essay? It's a rare thing for the admissions committee to actually read the whole thing. Yeah. So that's actually what we want, right? By giving them, not considering you. Like, we don't want them to, after they're done reading it, they'll be like, not sure if you're going to have this person or not, but we want them, like, when they read this, they're going to be like, whoa, this is, like an essay that I rarely read. The kind of information that I read is very interesting. I've never heard about it. That being said, I'm very proud of being with EducationUSA Indonesia because, and I'm an Indonesian also, and the way I look at it, our country is so amazing that there are so many opportunities that we can actually do something about it. And that's why we need you guys, right, to continue studying the US to kind of so that you can come back to Indonesia and do something about it. And Indonesia, I feel like it's just kind of like off the radar, right? We heard, I mean, like if you see international news or what have you, a lot of other people out there heard a lot about other countries, but for whatever reason, not actually a lot of people know about us. Not a lot of people know about Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact there are so many amazing things about Indonesia that we can raise, regardless, like what it is that you want to talk about, is going to be really amazing to talk about, like this specific topic. And if you're watching this and you're not Indonesian, I believe there is something about your country also that you can kind of like show off about, make them wow, and that's something that we actually want to put in the introduction paragraph. So this is another tips from me, right? We want to attract them to keep reading the whole essays by having this, interesting facts about Indonesia, right? So that's actually what makes the first or opening paragraph so important, because like I said earlier, they're not reading a lot of times they're not reading the whole essay, and we don't want that, right? We want them to read the whole thing. But then how can we do that? Well, by attracting them by the opening paragraphs, and then give them, like even more amazing information the following paragraphs until the end. So we need to keep up with the tone of that essay. We don't want to kind of like going down when it comes to giving this information in the essay, okay? And how can we do that, right? How can we do that? So this is my tips. Maybe you want to kind of like write it down, or maybe just kind of like hear me out. We want to create a theme or topic for your particular essay. And we don't want to go from that topic. Oftentimes, and like how it is very different than when you do autobiography style, right? It's like all over the place. I mean, basically it's easy because it's timeline, and you maybe you're going to mention a lot about years. Like I graduated from like this year, and then after that you're going to, you're attending this and that, and be basically like all over. But then the content wise is actually all over the world. It's not like one particular topic, right? With statement of purpose, that's what we want. We want to create a topic, we want to create a theme, and then that's what we are going to focus in the essay. And in fact, that's basically what I'm looking for when I'm seeing you one-on-one. That's what I'm looking for the first time. Remember when I said that when you come see me the first time, I'm going to skim through real quick, no more than a minute, maybe just like 30 seconds, just like skim through everything real quick. And then I'm looking for that particular topic. What is it that you want to talk about? And so if I don't see that, then we gotta focus on that. Okay. Or if you're kind of like right now hearing this and then you're saying, what do you mean like by topic? Like what topic are you talking about? The other tips that I have is ask yourself, who am I trying to help? So you pick this particular program, right? I want to study this. I want to study aerospace engineering, for example, right? Or I want to study public health, particularly in childhood education or what have you, right? Ask this question. Why are you doing that? Who are you trying to help? Or if it's not directly helping people or citizen or what have you, what are you trying to help? Oh, I'm trying to help, the economy of Indonesia, particularly in the infrastructure or whatever. I'm just kind of like, something that pop up in my mind. And then ask yourself, what is my ending goals out of this? I want to study masters. What is it like my ending goals here? Oh, I want that by 2030 or 2040 or 2050, Indonesia will basically get out of poverty, or Indonesia will be the first country in Asia where we are able to do this and that. You have to be very bold. You have to be very ambitious in the essay. Mm-hmm. I told you earlier, I don't do easy, right? So, and this is something that not a lot of us actually think about when it comes to essay. Okay. In the introduction paragraph, we also want to have some kind of like an up and down tone. What do I mean by that? we want to kind of like wow the reader with some kind of like bizarre or unusual facts about a situation, or in this case about Indonesia. There are so many things that we can actually pull up the information about Indonesia. So let's say you want to talk about I don't know, I can't really think of anything right now. Maybe you want to talk about how you want Indonesia to get out of poverty, right? But then you provide some kind of like a factual or like facts that is kind of like bizarre. I don't know, maybe talk about like how the reaches here in Indonesia is just like massively rich, but then why do we still have like this poverty or whatever? I mean, I can't really think of, like a good example right now, but something like that, right? Play around with the numbers. Indonesia actually has some bizarre numbers, and at the same time, you want to give a glimpse about Indonesia to wow them. The whole point is to wow them. So maybe, I don't know, my advice is talk about like, when they want to study like science or whatever, they talk about like the Indonesia as the ring of fire, or Indonesian archipelago, right? Or Indonesia has the worst whatever in whatever, right? Or Indonesia has the highest rate in whatever. And then sometimes, or if not, oftentimes I see that number being very like, whoa, like either it's so, like crazily high or crazily low. So then that's something that we can actually kind of like start with. Again, we want to be very bold. I want you to voice your arguments if there is any. Don't be afraid of, but are you sure that I can say this or can say that? Yes, I'm sure you can say this and you can say that. Because at the end, you want to help change that situation, however bad that is. Or maybe you want to talk about like how, our Indonesia rank really high in the number of corruption or whatever, right? Something like that, right? And then sometimes you're kind of like, I don't know, with which information that we want to give. Be bold, right? Do a comparison with the US if there is any, right? Because this is going to be very interesting, the fact that let's assume that the admissions committee rarely hear about Indonesia, or maybe have never heard about Indonesia at all. And then all of a sudden we got an essay coming from an Indonesian applicant talking so much about Indonesia. And then you kind of like filled in some information where you kind of like compare Indonesia and the US. And there are actually so many similarities between the US and Indonesia, if you think about it. So for example, like Indonesia being the third largest, like the third most populous countries in the world after China and India, Indonesia comes after the US. We are number 4, right? Or talk about like the fact that we are, also a democratic country, I don't know how to say, or maybe talk about like the agriculture. We are so big on agriculture here in Indonesia. The US is also big on agriculture. So as long as those are the topic that you want to talk about, right? Or maybe I have a number of advisees recently talking about omnibus law. So it's kind of like controversial, right? But then an omnibus law is coming from the US. So then they mentioned that, right? And then when you can actually able to kind of like gather all this information into your introduction paragraph. So your introduction paragraph is very difficult to the point where we can actually just focus on introduction paragraph alone for so many sessions before we move on to the next session. Again, the reason is because we want to wow them. We want them to keep reading, right? And there are actually a lot of information in the introduction paragraph. Mm-hmm. So not only you give a glimpse about that situation or just give a glimpse a little bit about the country to introduce them, you also want to give, what is the problem here? What is it that you want to talk about? After this, I'm going to, pull up my presentation slides, some kind of examples. And then you also want to show the urgency of that situation, why it has to be now, why it's not a couple of years ago. And then you also want to kind of like pull together. You also want to involve the government if that is the case, but then oftentimes I also ask my advisors, so the fact that we have the situation, where are the governments? Have they been aware of this? And so maybe talk about it. That's going to make your essay kind of like have a larger scope, and then
Nico,
the larger
ini
the
nge-lag nih,
issue is, the larger the situation that you want to cover, the larger the plan that you want to actually fix is going to be so much better. But that doesn't have to be like that as well. Maybe you just want to focus on just like Jakarta alone, for example. Then that's fine, okay? But then it's actually really nice if you can actually also talk a little bit about, so the government is aware, however, they are still, lacking in blah, 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 blah. Okay? And then what happens, so think of the introduction paragraph, some kind of like a teaser also, where you're not giving them all of the information, but enough information to get their attention. And then we move on to the body paragraph. So depending on how many words that the universities allow you to write, the body paragraphs can be 1 or 2 paragraphs where you basically continue giving more information out of that introduction paragraph. And then once you're done with that, the next body paragraph that you're going to talk about will be one specific paragraph talking about the university. Basically continue saying that. So basically all those, after those information that you give, you're saying, this is why I need to study in the US. Not saying it like that, but kind of like that, right? Like, this is why I want to study in your campus, because, but we don't want to say that because it's the part when I said basa-basi. But then you want to kind of like say, University A, whatever university you're going to apply, is really strong in this, blah, blah, blah. And then you want to talk really deep about that particular university. We don't want to do the obvious one, like, because you guys are ranked number 1 in this particular program. It's like so boring. We don't want that. Everyone else is going to say that. We don't want to do that. We want to have like a really different essay. Mm-hmm. Rather, you want to talk about, what is in that specific program that you believe can actually help you achieve the goal and achieve the plan that you already write in the previous paragraph. So do you see how everything is connected? And that's what we want in the essay, okay? And then after that, we're going to do a conclusion, which is the last paragraph, where basically still a continue, when you, where you are basically share with us, okay, so after you're done with your master's degree or PhD degree, what are the next steps that you're going to do? What are the first few steps that you're going to do when you're back in your home country? And then again, sometimes I always tell my advisors, oh, come on, like, don't say it. Maybe sometimes people, oh yeah, I'm going to be a teacher. Even if you want to end up being a teacher, by all means, don't get me wrong, it's amazing. But then it's kind of like defeat like the whole essay, because it's kind of like it's just like as if you are starting with like such a grand plan and then you just end up being a teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much better if you're saying something like, when you're going back, you are going to start working alongside the government, or maybe you're going to start having, a number of small, what's the word I'm looking for? Like some kind of like a talk, where you kind of like share with whatever, right? And then, or maybe, I'm going to start, like this startup where this is going to be the first ever startup in Indonesia where blah, 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 blah. So we have to sound very ambitious, especially in the conclusion paragraph. Why I recommend you to write this way is because this is another thing that you want to keep in mind, is that we want the tone of your essay, whatever information that you are going to give in the essay, it's going to kind of like going up and down, going up, and definitely like soaring high, right? It's going up, basically. And oftentimes people kind of like, oh, this is like great. The opening is so great. But then, and then it's actually going down when it comes to conclusion. And we don't want that. So we want to kind of like keep that, bold and ambitious tone or conclusion. Okay?
Guys,
so basically that's it. I'm pretty much done. But like I said, I promise you, I want to kind of like share with you some of the samples from my advisees to kind of like, give you a glimpse about like what is it, what the introduction paragraph what the opening paragraph should look like. Okay. An example of introduction paragraph. Okay. So let's read it together, guys. This is the opening is of the paragraph. Indonesia, an emerging economic country, is predicted to be one of the top 5 largest economies in the world by 2050, according to PwC report. Let's stop there. Don't continue reading. Let's talk a little bit about this opening sentence. Like I said earlier, I always pay attention to the introduction to every sentence, right? For an admissions committee, maybe for Indonesians, when we read this, I'm like, yeah, we already know that, But for an admissions committee, Indonesia, you start with like Indonesia, right? An emerging economy country. Okay, that's interesting. It's predicted to be one of the top 5 largest economies in the world by 2050. That's good news, right?
Yeah.
Indonesia also shows success in cutting the poverty rate of its total population to an amount of under 10%. Why do you think? I think that this kind of like just the 2 sentences are enough to actually get their attention. The way I read it is because you are giving me such a positive information. I want to see where are you going with this, right? That's what I see. We want to make them curious, and then that's what happens on the next sentence. However, the World Bank claims that socioeconomic inequality in Indonesia is widening, eventuating in the situation where the result of its economic growth has only been enjoyed by the richest 20% of its society. And then people would be like, whoa. And of course, what happens is when you read this kind of opening, people want to read it more. And remember, the reader of this essay is going to be in that particular program. I forgot what my advisors actually want to continue on with this program. I think some kind of like public policy. So then of course, people who are in engineering, they won't find this like interesting. But people who are in the public policy field, they would love to know more about this. Okay, another one. As one of Indonesia's founding fathers, Muhammad Hatta, had once said, and I love this quote, by the way, Indonesia will not shine because of the torch in Jakarta, but Indonesia will glow because of the candles in the village. And I feel like this is like really beautiful. And for people who has never heard about this, and let alone people in the US, they would be like, what is this, Indonesia's food security relies on small farmers, which accounts for 90% of all Indonesian farmers. 90%, that's like a huge number. Remember when I told you that a lot of extremely high or extremely low number when it comes to Indonesia? And then this is like when I said earlier to you guys, do a comparison if you can. Unlike US farmers who averagely owns 169 hectares per farmers, Indonesian farmers only hold less than 1 hectare averagely. If the admissions committee doesn't want to know more about this, I don't know who will. Mm-hmm. Okay. This advisor, I remember she wants to continue some kind of like an agriculture technology or something like that. And then the last one, it has been almost 2 years since the president of the Republic of Indonesia officially launched Making Indonesia 4.0, a roadmap planned by the government to reach the goal of being in the top 10 world's most economically developed countries by 2030. Again, if this is being read by Indonesian, probably they'll be like, boring, we already know that. But then again, let's assume the reader has never heard about this, and they've never heard about Indonesia actually in the Industry 4.0 plan, right? And then by bringing like precedents, so it's kind of like very high up there, right? So it's pretty similar to like the first sample that I showed you. It's the good news. And then the admissions committee the reader will kind of, okay, good. So where are we going with this? And then the advisors actually drop the bomb. Unfortunately, there is still a deficiency of data specialists in Indonesia, and then on and on and on. So this is kind of like a teaser. I don't want to share with you like the whole thing, but the rest of the introduction paragraph is so interesting. Like we have this grand plan, but then dropping the bomb by saying, but on the ground, in reality, we actually don't have enough data specialists. So almost to the point where we say, it's going to be hard for us to like reach Indonesia 4.0. But basically, the person is saying that, but we can do it by da 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 da, and so that's why he wants to continue this, so that he wants to fix the problem, so that we can actually continue, on the roadmap for this making Indonesia 4.0. So those are kind of like, the samples of this essay. I hope it's kind of like enough for you to kind of like, yeah, I think I get it, right? Even if you kind of like get it, what I'm saying, basically for the past 1 hour, but then if you found it really hard to actually put it into words, that's okay. That's what we are here for. But I already really glad the fact that you're attending this session. At least you got to hear me talking about this, a lot of heads up, a lot of tips, and a lot of, scary things and what have you. Even if you end up with like a draft where it's not quite what I'm looking for, and don't worry, when we're doing one-on-one session, that's when things are, getting very detailed, and we're guiding you like slower, right? Slowly. Tonight, just kind of like try to get as much information as you possibly can. But then again, don't worry if you kind of like overwhelm when you start do the writing, okay? So basically, let's end this. I want to basically start the discussion. I'm going to call up my colleague Santika if you have not seen her. So we're going to have Santika around. Hello, Santika.
Hi, Fina. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much
for
the talk.
Yes,
Yes,
so
we are doing
great in the chat. I think our first time trying this without PPT is a huge success. Because a lot of people actually kind of like more focused on what you were talking about. So they're not like talking or asking a lot of questions in the chat box because they're just listening to you, and the questions is most of the questions are what you were trying to discuss. So it shows that they're really listening. Really good. Yes. Thank you so much, Fina. And we have a few questions that I feel like it's great for our discussion. I have two here or three if we have time. So the first one is from Sophia. It's from Zoom. I saw a lot of times Sophia came to our events. So we have a lot of recurring advices slash attendees in our events. So that's great. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. And the question is it necessary for us to tell our research in the statement of purpose for the doctor program? So I think this is for the PhD doctoral program, I think. So yeah, Fina, what do you think if we talk about what we are researching on or what our research experience is about in our statement of purpose?
Yeah, this is a really wonderful question. The answer is definitely yes, you can talk about it. But again, you want to be careful not to sound very academic paper, especially when you applying for a PhD, because for a PhD applicants, you are going to submit a research proposal. Yes, a research proposal. And your research proposal, well, first of all, that's not something that Santika or I going to read. We don't want to go near research proposal because it's like so high up there. And I'm not comfortable in reading it either. But research proposal is a perfect example of what I said earlier, where you actually sound very academic. Like it is an academic paper. So what is interesting about PhD is that a lot of PhD programs, they are still asking for a statement of purpose. And the statement of purpose that they are asking, the way I look at it is pretty similar to statement of purpose if you want to study masters. So basically, it's similar to what I have been sharing with you tonight. So definitely we want to talk about like what is your research going to be about, but then we also want to have that same tone. Maybe not the same. I don't think tone is the right word. The same style, probably the same. Maybe it's better. We still want you to write a statement of purpose for PhD that basically has the same style.
Yeah.
Like what I said earlier, how your introduction paragraph, you want to sound very like, it can also be very non-formal if you want, or, think of statement of purpose like a story, like you are writing a story, like you're writing a book, So
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I agree with you, Fina, especially if you're applying for PhD, most or not all of them, especially if it's research heavy, they will ask for a research statement or proposal. So that's when it's really how do I call it scientific or research based. But yeah, the statement of purpose should stay. I think more on what it is called. Literally is the purpose. That's why I think a lot of people here also wondering like what is the the real difference between statement of purpose and personal essay, Vinaya? Because even for me, it's been I think 2 years by now reading essays. I sometimes still did not if you ask me like what is the difference, I'm like okay, I think the main difference is the purpose, and the other one is of course something more personal. So the personal one of course is more of a story instead of like talking about your work experience and how it affects you and you want to take this master or PhD degree, which is the statement of purpose. So yeah, to me that's just literally the name. I'll just stick with the name. So if it's personal statement, I will look at the essay from is this personal enough or not? So yeah, that's me.
Yep.
But yeah. And so Fina, this leads us to the second question from Acunia, one of our advisees here. Her question is which one is more personal? Statement of purpose or personal essay? There you go.
Yeah, definitely the second one, because that's why they call it personal essay. But remember, like I said earlier, if you heard me saying this, that there are some universities where they don't ask for a statement of purpose. They don't mention any statement of purpose on the website, but they use the term personal essay or personal statement. That being the case, sometimes it's actually the equivalent to statement of purpose. I know it can be confusing, right? Because there are also some universities that ask both statement of purpose and personal essay. Then that's when we want to have like two different essays. Statement of purpose being the things that I've covered tonight, and then personal essay being just completely very personal, right? Yeah. So, however, again, if the university is only asking for a personal essay or personal statement, then we can assume that it is going to be a statement of purpose. I know it's a bit confusing. If you want us to take a look at it, feel free to do it. And another thing that I want you to kind of like do, I forgot to mention it, when you share your draft with us, if you can, please put the prompt or the question in the introduction in on your essay, right? Just put it on top or something. It's just that I just want to make sure that what we are going to talk about is definitely a statement of purpose. All right. But I'm telling you guys, like oftentimes I want to say that, 99% of all these prompts are actually the statement of purpose, the one that I have been covering tonight. So, yep.
All right. Thank you so much. And the next one, we just had one new question coming in, and I think this is very interesting. It's from Fiolita in Zoom as well. Will it be a problem if our resume is not aligned with our SOP? So, for example, my resume mostly consists of my work experience in insurance, while the program I'm applying is MBA. So the SOP will explain more why I need MBA instead of talking about the work experience in insurance industry. So what do you think, Ina?
Absolutely fine. Especially you mentioned MBA, and what is the good thing about MBA is that it's the one of the programs in the US where you don't actually need to have some kind of like a business background, because MBA is the one of the programs where they welcome everyone from so many different backgrounds. So that is completely okay. And when you write an essay, you definitely want to focus on why you're taking MBA. So even though it's like completely different than when you have like your resume, when it has a lot of experience in insurance and you don't want to do anything about insurance, that's okay. That's okay. Do we still have Santika? Okay, well, I am just going to read the next question here. And well, basically, Santika's kind of like have this, mark some of the questions that we're going to talk about. But let's see, we have Chahya Choironi here in Zoom. Thank you for watching this session. If I'm working for the government, how if I tell about the problem that currently happens in my office instead? This is to emphasize to an effect after I graduate to contribute in solving the problem. This will lead to a positive effect that the citizen will get. Amazing, with a lot of advisees who are working inside the government, and I'm telling you, I love them. I love their profile, and oftentimes I always push them, kind of like be bold, to the point where, are you sure it is okay? So like they talk to me, like one-on-one, basically saying what is actually really going on inside. And then I said, why don't you put it in the essay? And they think, well, I can't really say it. I mean, it's kind of like, not like talk back bad, but I mean, it's kind of like, kind of like sensitive and everything. And I said, well, but then this is like a crucial information, although you're going to talk about like sensitive information, but the ending goal here is that we are going to change that situation, right? And I mean, it's not like your essays is going to be read by your boss or whatever, right? Assuming that your boss is not going to read it. This is going to be read by the admissions committee. So absolutely. Then this is something that, I always actually tell my advisees to do when we're talking about like the essay, especially if you are doing something that, and because like you already have like a, what do you call it? Like a plus, like a point in your profile. The fact that you are already work inside the government, and the fact that you want to do something for that particular government agency, and that you're going to come back to that place to fix it. It's kind of like giving an assurance to the admissions committee that, oh yeah, okay, so this person is actually just going to continue fixing this problem. So yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to reading your story, and story as in statement of purpose. So yeah. And you're welcome, Violeta. Thanks for the question.
Fina, and all of the questions that's coming in. I think we will not have enough time for another new questions. But we do have one. I think we still have time for a short one, right, Fina?
Yep.
Okay. So I think this is from William, our long time repeated attendees as well. Can I bring up about global issues instead? So this is actually what I have already answered in the chat box. I said I don't see any problem with it, but you just need to connect that to you, to your expertise, to your experience, to your environment, because then it's not personalized. It's not from you. If you're talking about, so let's say if you live in Indonesia and you talk about global warming, but that's not in Indonesia. You're talking about global warming, which is a global issue, but you are talking about what's happening in other countries while you're not there. So I don't think that is doable, but you can totally do global issues. That's where you are experiencing. That's what I answered.
Or
yeah,
no, that's completely something that I want to say also. But how about we are going to end the essay by kind of making this a global issue. But the majority of your essay is talking about Indonesia. So you actually raised a really good question, William, because I have a number of my advisees that I end up telling them, hey, let's be bold in the conclusion paragraph. Let's be very ambitious by telling that if this is going to be a success, then this can actually be applicable to other countries. Or I have an advisory recently where they actually want to talk about the fact that Indonesia has, plays a huge role in climate change, right? So the advisee is actually talking so much about what is actually really going on in Indonesia when it comes to climate change, what the government has been doing so far, what are the successful things that we have done, what are the non-successful things that we have done, and how can we fix that. And so the advice is basically talking about, so that's why I want to study in these universities, because I'm going to learn this and that, this and that. Where in the conclusion, basically, they're saying that if this is successful or something like that, that's other countries will definitely can follow through. So then that's kind of like close the conclusion with like something like huge, that this is going to be like very impactful, not only to your country, our country, but also for like other countries as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Fina, I think because we usually do introduction PPT, which we don't have today, I think it's fair to let everyone knows that they can reach us through email or Zoom advising room. We are usually available every day. You can see if you're in Zoom in the chat box. I already give the link and the Zoom meeting ID. So if you're not in Zoom, I'm just going to read that real quick to you. Our email is jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. And our Zoom meeting ID for one-on-one advising is 276-124-396. You can try to come in anytime during our advising hours, which is 1 until 9 p.m. on daily basis. And make sure you read all of the description if you are there and kind of like wondering, why am I in the waiting room? We do put the description, so go ahead and read that. And if you, you're shy, you're not sure to meet Fina or me through the Zoom directly, which we really encourage you to, because we love kind of, like talk to you directly in real time compared to emails. So yeah, but you can still email us if you hesitate on going to Zoom, all the way.
Yeah, I was actually planning, since we have 6 minutes here. I was actually planning to share with you guys just the 3 slides of one about what Santika just actually shared, which let me actually just share it for some of you who are a very visual type of person like myself. So with us again, there are 2 advisors in EducationUSA at America, and I'm actually really glad to be part of the America team. So my name is Fina again, and then we got Santika. Our advising hours are basically every day from 1 until 9. So basically, Santika and I, we basically have shift. Santika is doing 1 through 5. I do the evening slot from 5 until 9. This is our Zoom ID, like what Santika just shared. And then again, you will mostly going to be in the waiting room, and then just kind of like give it 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to hear from us if you are kind of like still like in a advising session, and then we're going to tell you feel free to wait, or maybe we ask you to come back later because we're closing up very soon or something. Okay. Or again, like what Santika said, if you feel like you don't want to just jump into Zoom and then you're just kind of like shy, you can also email us first at our email center at jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org. And don't worry, guys, we are the type of organization where we do read emails. So don't worry about we're not going to get back to you. We are going to get back to you quite fast. Okay, so if you have any questions, just feel free to email us here. Okay, I would also actually, I've not mentioned this, if you are free this Saturday morning, please join us along with other Indonesians who already got accepted to US universities. So this is going to be kind of like a lighter topic. We kind of like go a little bit further in the future. Like, let's imagine yourself getting accepted already, and then you want to know more about what is it to prepare before you depart to the US, or maybe you have some kind of like questions about the different type of visas. Like, we got F1, we got J1. We're going to cover that. Again, this is more kind of like a light discussion type. So I'm not going to kind of like pull up any presentation slides, probably just like a couple, but more kind of like taking as many questions as you have. So anything that you want to ask about, maybe what is it like living in the West Coast compared to East Coast? It's kind of like fun topic. What is it like the classroom experience looks like? And then since Santika and I, we both graduated from the US for our undergraduate degree, which it's fairly longer than master. So I don't know about Santika, how long you've spent in the US. I spent a total of 6 years in the US. So I got also an experience working in the US. So if you have actually, have any questions about that, we're going to cover that, right? So feel free to join the session on a Saturday morning, this coming Saturday at 11. And you can actually register that from our EducationUSA website. Okay, Santika, so are we doing good? Shall we wrap up the session?
Yes, let's wrap this up. And I'm really excited to see everyone on our next event, which is on the 8th, the one that Fina just explained. Don't feel pressurized or worried because that is actually meant for people who already got accepted. But you can still come in to, see what we can give to you if you already got accepted. And of course, try to network with people who already got accepted and maybe ask for some tips if they got accepted to the university that you want to go to, right? That's a good start, and I think it's a good opportunity for you, okay? All right, thank you so much, Fina, and everyone who's watching tonight, and we will give it back to our EdAmerica team.
Thank you so much to our speakers, Kafina and Kasantika, for today's very informative session. Earlier in the event, we asked audience members a question. That question is, what is the highest level of academic degree that you can earn? And the correct answer to that is option A, doctorate. Congratulations goes to Nico Sudira from Instagram for answering correctly. And thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chance to get a shout out from us. I'd also like to remind all our audience members of our food worth 1 million Indonesian rupiah for 10 people to share with family and friends. If you're still interested in joining, visit our link at atam.tv/maywe for more information. Now, you may be wondering, how could I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? It's very easy. All you need to do is go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select Create a Program, and click Collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly updates. And that's it. That wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at @ATAmerica for all our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is James, and I'll see you at the next EdAmerica TV episode. Goodbye.